Eternal Norseman is actually also a story I wanted to write for some time. It's a story about the raid of Lindisfarne, which is commonly seen as the beginning of the Viking Age. But the Vikings had raided in England before. It's just probably the first one that was actually written down, because they raided a monastery and there were people who actually knew how to write. So it was written down. It's an interesting. The interesting thing about the whole raid is not that the Vikings brutally attacked and murdered a lot of defenseless monks. It's that how they decided to get in these open vessels and cross the Northern Sea in search for a new land. And they find this place where they can find a lot of riches easy. And they go back home and say, look what we found. And then they start coming in droves, just a mindset to get to, all right, we have to do this. We have to travel and see what we find. I think it's utterly fascinating. The whole thing in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle about the attack on Lindisfarne is actually also really fascinating, how they talk about dragons in the sky and whirlwinds and flashes as omens. So I put that in there as well. I think it's awesome. So it's a song about the attack on Lindisfarne, which is the dawn of the Norsemen.
I just want to write one of those, we call it a 3-beat song. It's like a triplet feeling in it. It's also kind of classic Amon Amarth style to have this triplet feeling. We usually have one of those songs on every album. So I just want to make it like a classic Amon Amarth triplet song. And that's what came out.
We Saxons stand in Alfred's name. We need to bleed our land regain. Our battle cry is England free and warm. You have taken Saxon blood. You pay the price in pain. We raise our flags with pride and steel.
Well, this is actually connected to the Great Heathen Army song. You could almost say it's the beginning and the end, actually, of that story, because it talks about when the Vikings invaded, they took over the whole country except Wessex, and then they met King Alfred of Wessex in several battles, actually, and so this talks about that, and from the perspective of the Vikings and the Saxons, together with Biff Byford, obviously from Saxon, and Paul and Doug from Saxon are also in there doing this. So we didn't want to do it like the Vikings slaughtering Saxons or vice versa. It had to be on equal terms, because it was supposed to be a joint thing. So it's told from two perspectives, and then obviously we wanted to have the banter as well, so it's written in there, and like how the leader of the Vikings and the leader of the Saxons are just smashing each other with insults and crap. It's fun, a lot of fun. But I think it's a great song. I think Biff's and Paul's and Doug's contribution is fantastic. It just lifts the whole song. It's great. A lot of fun to do that one.
Countless times I've gone to war. War is the kenning I have heard. My name is known in...
Yeah, Skagel Rise with me, I came up with this kind of arpeggio thing that I really liked. And then I just built out from that. It's also classic Amon Amarth sound, mid-tempo song.
And it's about a great Viking chieftain from Sweden called Toste. And he was associated with the Valkyrie Skagel. And the Valkyries are women warriors of Odin who would bring the dead up to Valhalla. But you could also invoke them in battle and all stuff. And one thing about Skogul is Skogul supposedly means war. And it said like they thought that she rode with Tosta because he was always victorious. He would always win every battle that so he became Skoglar Tosta, which is like, you know, a kenning kind of thing, where you get a nickname. So I thought it was an interesting character to bring into a song. So Skogul writes with him, with me. Yeah. The Helvegen is like a labyrinth, so it leads you down in kind of like circling pattern into the center. And the first part is called the Serpent's Trail. And then it leads you out, and that's the Eagle's Trail. And then you come out and you become the dragon. But what it is, it's not a physical journey per se, like going somewhere. It's an internal journey. If you have a problem, it can be like a mental problem, emotional problem, a problem with something else. If you make that journey, like the first part can be very, very dark, and it's easy to get stuck in places because like there are always going to be doubts and all that stuff. And when you get stuck, you could get caught in stuff like alcoholism or drug abuse or something else that will distract you from dealing with your problems. But if you manage to overcome those obstacles and you make it all the way into the center of this labyrinth, that's where you face the fears or the problem, the root of the problem. And once you deal with that problem, you see it for what it is, you deal with it, then you can start making your way out, which is not easy either in many ways, but it's you know, that's when you kind of start making it. So
Someone told me keep your feet if you want to walk this way. A fearless heart with a steady beat.